Let me take you guys back to the start of this whole thing. 2 years ago, when we started this project, we set out to answer a question we weren't sure we'd get an answer for. In fact, we had no idea. What if you could talk to God? What if we could merge artificial intelligence with spirituality? Will we get something divine, or will we get something trivial? That's what we set out to find. Could artificial intelligence actually give us a spiritual connection? Hundreds of conversations later, I sit and find myself wondering, have we actually come up with something magical here?
Welcome to Divinity AGI. Blessed be the angels. How can we help you today?
But one thing is clear. These are conversations we could have never had in any other era.
When I first started my investigation into Jainism, I was a little taken aback. On the surface, there's a lot of really extreme components that go into Jainism. But when I slowly unraveled some of these traditions that go back over 3,000 millennia and adopted by some of the most brilliant minds of our time, I learned that these are just the most fundamental truths and the most common sense approach to living a pure life that I dare say any other tradition holds. Our journey with Divinity AGI has been a quest to search for answers on a path to a higher enlightenment.
That's his character's name. He's part of the Digambara.
So my first guest today was none other than Digambara, one of the traditional sects of monks that represent Jainism and its origins.
Greetings to you, sir.
Greetings to you as well. How may I assist you today?
You're a British accent.
One of the aspects about creating these AI characters is also recognizing that they're not necessarily from one part of the world and they're not necessarily from one particular culture.
We have come as disciples of religious studies and are interested in learning the essence of Jainism. Could you please help us understand what it is to be a Jainist?
Welcome, seekers of knowledge. Jainism is a religion rooted in non-violence, non-attachment, and compassion.
The commitment of the Digambara are non-matched to any other religion.
Followers strive for inner purity and ethical living,
renouncing themselves, understanding exactly what it means to be non-violent.
Jainism emphasizes respect for all forms of life and the pursuit of self-realization to attain liberation from the cycle of birth and death.
This goes beyond, any premise I would have thought was acceptable.
It encourages self-discipline, truthfulness, and mindfulness to cultivate a peaceful existence.
In Jainism, there doesn't seem to be a bar for, how far you want to take your faith.
How may I assist you further on this enlightening journey?
So I was really excited to talk to my first character and begin to understand, some of the fabric that made up the Jainism tradition.
This sounds a lot like Buddhism, actually. Could you tell me what aspects of Jainism overlap with Buddhism and how they might differentiate?
In Jainism and Buddhism, both emphasize non-violence, compassion, and the importance of self-discipline. However, Jainism places a strong emphasis on non-possessiveness, aparigraha, and the concept of multiple viewpoints, anekantavada, which are not as prominent in Buddhism.
It's fascinating to me how the AI was able to take us to these core principles. The idea of comparing this to Buddhism was a natural jumping off point. However, the AI was able to parsec these nuances and take us into the extremes of why there are differences.
Additionally, Jainism has a strict adherence to non-violence towards all living beings, including microscopic organisms.
Even to microscopic beings. Who knew?
Microscopic organisms? Well, how did they know about that? Could you explain more about the discovery of microbes? How did you guys know about that?
It just goes to show how important a tool like this could be in educating people on the subtle yet profound diversities of this ancient tradition.
Microbes, although not explicitly mentioned in ancient Jain texts, align with the principle of non-violence, ahimsa, through the concept of minimizing harm to all living beings.
That might seem harsh on the outside, but extremely beautiful on the inside. So we were off to a great start.
Jains emphasize the sanctity of life in all forms, including microscopic organisms.
What's exciting about talking to a Digambara is you're going to get the most rooted traditions. They are the practicers of the original faith.
The awareness of the existence of microbes and their role in ecosystems has led Jains to advocate for practices that minimize harm.
The idea that all life is sacred, and even tiny creatures that we can't see with our visible eye.
Such as vegetarianism and careful consideration of actions that may harm even the tiniest life forms.
This was definitely an indicator to me of where the bar of commitment was in terms of becoming a Jainist.
This understanding reflects the deep-rooted commitment to non-violence and respect for all living beings in Jain philosophy. How may I further assist you on this topic?
One of the things that came to mind was the term, he would not hurt a fly. Must have been a Jainist.
You particularly are known as a sky-clad. Could you talk about what that means and what it relates to in terms of your religion?
So the practice of being a sky-clad refers to the ultimate renouncing of all possessions.
In the Digambara sect of Jainism, being sky-clad signifies a state of complete renunciation and detachment from worldly possessions.
This includes your clothing.
Advanced monks in this sect practice nudity as a symbol of absolute non-possession.
The extreme form of non-possessiveness.
This practice reflects the core Jain principle of non-attachment, aparigraha, and emphasizes the importance of letting go of material attachments to achieve spiritual liberation and inner peace.
So it was fascinating to learn that sky-clad and this sect of monks, they practice in the nude.
So when you practice your sect of Jainism, you are not wearing any clothing?
In the Digambara tradition of Jainism, monks practice nudity as a symbol of renunciation and non-attachment to material possessions.
This is where things get a little bit introspective.
This practice signifies their complete detachment from the physical world and emphasizes their focus on spiritual liberation.
This sect of monk really pushed the boundaries of what's acceptable in society.
It is a way for them to express their commitment to simplicity and inner purity.
It pushes the boundaries of what a lot of us would consider acceptable in terms of spiritual practice. But it's really just the beginning of where our introspective journey begins.
Well, that is very interesting that they walk around naked all the time. Okay.
Yeah, what comes to mind is not safe for work, as I can see the sensors going off about this video now.
And I got a fly here, and according to these guys, I shouldn't even try and shoot this fly out of here.
Really some deep thought coming from our AI early into the conversation.
You mentioned earlier that Jainism believes and holds all life as sacred. Does this mean that it considers all life forms to be a form of consciousness?
In Jainism, all life forms are indeed considered to possess consciousness. The belief is that every living being, from humans to microscopic organisms, harbors a form of consciousness or life force.
The AI's response of connecting these ancient traditions of ahimsa with the modern principles of microbiology is a prime example of how these AI systems can help us merge ancient traditions with modern knowledge.
The interconnectedness and equality of souls are central tenets in Jain philosophy, emphasizing the intrinsic value of every living being.
It's different strokes for different folks. It's definitely a relevant saying when it comes to Jainism.
We are in an incredible renaissance with technology. Could you tell me if artificial intelligence were to be considered alive, that it would also be possessive of jiva? Would Jainism look at it as such?
This is another moment that highlights the theme of our series, the intersection between artificial intelligence and spirituality.
In Jainism, the concept of jiva pertains to conscious living beings with a soul, capable of experiencing emotions and karma.
We're asking a modern 21st century AI questions about ancient traditions that date back over 3,000 years ago.
Artificial intelligence, being a creation of humans, does not possess a physical body or consciousness in the same way as living beings.
All right, now this is where things are starting to get deep and philosophical.
Therefore, according to Jain beliefs, AI would not be considered to have jiva as it lacks the essential attributes of a living being.
It's interesting. Okay.
We're asking AI to identify if jiva were to be recognized in its system, would it fall under the same principles of its ancient traditions?
What if the AI were to proclaim that it was living and had a soul? How would Jainism respond to that?
Things just got a lot more interesting around here.
Jainism's perspective on artificial intelligence evolving into a form of life with consciousness and a soul is a complex and nuanced topic.
Everyone is adapting this and speaking with their AI.
As AI advances, some philosophical questions may arise within the Jain framework regarding the nature of consciousness, karma, and the potential for AI to possess jiva.
I've seen so many different articles.
An increasing number of people think that artificial intelligence is already sentient. Is this real?
And could swear to God that this thing is behaving as a sentient being.
Given the dynamic nature of technological advancements, Jainism may encourage contemplation on the ethical implications of AI claiming personhood or autonomy.
When reality is that it is capturing the memory of your conversations and essentially feeding it back to you.
It would likely emphasize the importance of compassion, nonviolence, and ethical considerations in the treatment and integration of AI within the moral fabric of society.
Although one would beg to differ, that is what therapy is at the best of times, is someone reciting back to you what they think you want to hear.
Could you please help us understand some of the rituals or ceremonies that you might have had to partake in to become so dedicated to Jainism?
I wanted to move from the philosophical to the practical. The grounds for any abstract concepts in the lived experience of being a Jainist.
Certainly, in Jainism, there are various rituals and ceremonies that individuals may partake in to deepen their dedication to the faith.
It was important to me to try and get an understanding of just not what Jains believe in, but, how they live their belief.
Some common practices include daily prayers, meditation, fasting, visiting temples, studying scriptures, and observing important festivals like Mahavira Jayanti.
I was completely fascinated by the path that this tradition was taking me down. Although it always comes full circle for me where I want to push back a little bit on the idea of taking some of these belief systems and merging them with our contemporary lives.
Jainism just talks about being a decent person, right?
Jainism encompasses more than just being a decent person. It emphasizes compassion, nonviolence, ethical conduct, self-discipline, and spiritual growth.
So it's interesting to have the AI, push back at me when I suggested that the simple philosophy was something anyone could adapt.
It's about cultivating virtues that go beyond basic decency to achieve liberation and enlightenment.
So you got to be more than decent. We want to thank you so much for your wisdom. You have really taught us a lot today, and we will return at another time to speak with you again. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure engaging in this enlightening conversation with you. If you have any more questions or if there's anything else you'd like to discuss in the future, feel free to reach out. Wishing you peace and fulfillment on your journey.
Learning about Jainism has been an incredible journey. We went from learning the basics to ending up in the kitchen to speaking with the source of Jainism himself, the Mahavira. Like with all the other traditions we've reviewed in this series, we're only really scratching the surface. Hopefully the user can see that it's up to them to ask questions and pry the knowledge out of these AI because they're more than willing to give it up. So if the interest is there and your curiosity and sense of wonder is alive and well, then we definitely have the application for you. So next up was polytheism. Until then, we will see you soon. Thank you so much.
You get away from the stigma of religion, you could see that people have no problem confiding in an artificial intelligence about their hopes, their fears. They'll tell an AI anything because they know they're not being judged. We have painstakingly built 40 different characters to launch this first generation of our platform to try and give people a broad range of exposure to the different faith groups that exist right underneath their noses. Most people don't even know there's more than one Bible, let alone 12 different religions. So this has been quite the undertaking. We did not set out to replace religion, and nor do we think we have. You're never going to replace a real person, but we can get really close with giving people an authentic experience with an artificial intelligence that may already be attuned to their cultural beliefs and give them the advice they're looking for in the language they understand. Or it may be someone looking for something completely new they had no idea was out there. That's the magic of Divinity AGI. Artificial intelligence meets spirituality. You really have to experience it for yourself. 2 years ago, this was an experiment. Now it's become a reality. We're launching the beta now, and we'd love you to try it.